Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Jefferson nickel value coins. In this video, we explore the worth, iconic design, hidden treasures, and shocking history behind the top 3 most valuable and expensive Jefferson nickels in the United States of America. We'll be revealing coins from 1989D, 1991D, and 1995P. These are copper nickel coins, featuring the classic Monticello reverse design. At first glance, these nickels look ordinary. They may be dirty, worn, or heavily circulated. But don't be fooled. Some of these seemingly ordinary coins could be worth thousands or even millions of dollars today. So before you spend that old nickel, stick around, because you might be holding a fortune in your hands. Backhand index pointing right first up. Coin number 1. At first glance, it looks unremarkable. Ordinary. A Jefferson nickel dulled by years of circulation. Its copper nickel surface darkened by decades of time and touch. The edges feel soft, almost rounded, as if the coin itself has been slowly reshaped by countless hands. Dirt clings to the recesses of the design, deep inside the settling into letters and lines that once feels like part of the design. Fine scratches run across in every direction, not randomly, each one like a map of everywhere this coin has passed through. Most people would dismiss it instantly. Quiet life. But coins that survive this long are never truly ordinary. But survival like this is never Jefferson Nickel with the D mint mark. This is a 1989 everyday America, struck with the D mint mark, entered circulation quietly through the heart of America during a changing era. The late 1980s were filled with gas stations, diners, and corner shops. Growing, people spending without thinking. It passed through hands that never stopped to look at it. Passed from palm to palm, each register to register, day after day. Each year added weight. It bought coffee. What remains today is not just metal, it is a record of movement, into pockets and bags, of time pressing forward without mercy needed. Look closely at Thomas Jefferson's portrait. What remains today is not just the original strike, but time itself pressed into shape. The face still carries calm authority. Look closely at Jefferson's portrait. The eyes remain steady, once sharp and proud, the expression now softened by years of circulation. Where has not erased him, the fine lines have faded, but the face still carries calm authority. Deeply. The eyes heavy remain circulation steady. Does not always reduce the expression value. Unchanged. In some cases, where has not erased him, it has aged him. It proves the coin lived a real life, untouched by artificial circulation does not destroy a coin story. Turn the coin slowly and Monticello appears on the reverse. Every worn detail but unmistakable. This nickel wasn't locked away. The steps are smooth now, it lived among by countless fingers. Turn the coin over slowly and Monticello appears, worn but unmistakable. Dirt settles deep into the design, steps are smooth, protecting what by thousands of touches. This famous structure traveled farther in this form than most people ever will across states, across decades, dirt settles across moments no one thought were important enough to remember. The remaining detail. The demon mark building has traveled farther than most monuments ever will. One small letter tells where this coin was born. Across decades, different through ordinary moments that history books never record. Different then there is the small detail many overlook. Collectors know this is where secrets often begin. Just one letter. Subtle strike differences. Yet unexpected textures. It tells where this coin was variations born. Invisible to the untrained eye. This is why experts never rush past a coin like this. Millions of 1989 Jefferson nickels were minted. Collectors know that this is where hidden value often begins. But mint numbers do not tell the full story. Not in survival does. But in small were spent until nothing remained. Survival. Lost millions in jars. Of 1989 D nickels were produced. Melted. That fact makes people forgotten. Careless. But heavily circulated examples that still retain strong, most readable design are far fewer than people realize. Tossed into jars, and among those survivors, lost under seats, some stand apart, discarded without Notice thought. The color. Heavily not circulated bright. Examples that still not retain polished. Readable detail are fewer than people realize. Natural tone formed slowly over time. And among those survivors, some this carry kind traits of aging that change everything. Unusual textures, strike it characteristics, comes only from years or aging patterns that separate them from the rest. Experienced collectors watch for this immediately. Not bright. Because natural toning tells the truth about a coin's journey. Natural tone that only comes from time and handling. In the collecting world. This kind of toning cannot be rushed. This is still just 5 cents. It cannot be forced. Pocket change. It forms slowly, something to spend over decades of exposure. But collectors see differently. Collectors notice this immediately. They know history is full of coins because that were ignored for decades, tells the truth only to later command astonishing prices when the right details were finally understood. To most value people, does not announce itself 5 cents. It reveals something itself to spend quietly, without thinking, often when it is already too late. Something to toss aside. Stories circulate softly among serious collectors. They know that history repeats itself. Coins cleaned
Coins
and
once
ruined.
ignored have later sold for
Coins
astonishing
dismissed as
amounts
worthless,
when the right
then
combination
rediscovered
of
years
factors
later
came
with
together.
extraordinary significance.
Where?
This is why
Mint
experts
mark.
say one thing consistently:
Survival.
never rush. Timing. Never clean. Value does
Never
not announce
assume.
itself early. Because the smallest
reveals
mistake can
itself
erase
later.
the very details that matter
Stories
most.
circulate quietly
This
among experts.
1989 Jefferson
Coins
Nickel
spent
does not
too soon.
sparkle. Coins
It does
cleaned
not
and
demand
ruined.
attention.
Coins dismissed as
waits,
worthless,
only to be
carrying
recognized
decades
years
of
later
American
as
life
rare
in its worn
survivors.
surface.
That is why
Waiting for
patience
someone who
matters.
understands
that the most
Knowledge
powerful
matters.
coins are often the quietest ones.
And
hesitation can sometimes be the
Sometimes
difference
fortune
between
doesn't
loss
shine.
and fortune.
Sometimes
This 1989
it hides in the coins
Jefferson
everyone
Nickel
else
does
is too
not
quick to
shine.
spend.
It does not beg for attention.
It waits, carrying decades of American life in its worn surface.
Waiting for someone who understands that the most powerful coins are often the quietest ones. Sometimes, fortune does not glitter.
Sometimes, it hides in the coins everyone else is too quick to spend.
At first glance, it feels forgettable, a Jefferson nickel darkened by years of circulation, its copper-nickel surface muted and tired, no shine left to impress anyone in a hurry. The edges are soft now, rounded by thousands of exchanges, shaped by time rather than machines. Dirt clings stubbornly inside the letters, deep in the shadows of the design, as if the coin is holding on to its past. Tiny scratches spread across the surface, layered one over another, each one marking a moment when this coin changed hands.
To most people, this is nothing. To those who understand survival, this is the beginning of a story. This is a 1991 Jefferson Nickel with the D mint mark, released quietly into circulation during a turning point in American life.
The early 1990s were restless years, shifting economies, changing habits, a nation moving faster every day.
This nickel moved with it.
It passed through gas stations, grocery counters, lunch tables, vending machines, and back pockets. It paid for small moments people never remembered. Yet those moments remembered it.
Every year added wear. Every transaction added character. What remains today is not just currency, it is time made solid. Look closely at Thomas Jefferson's portrait.
The sharpness of the original strike has softened, but the face still holds calm authority.
The outline is gentler now, shaped by use, yet unmistakable. This kind of wear is not damage. It is evidence.
Evidence that the coin lived honestly, untouched by artificial polishing or modern interference.
Collectors know this truth well.
A heavily circulated coin tells a story that mint-fresh pieces never can.
It proves authenticity. It proves survival.
Turn the coin slowly and Monticello emerges on the reverse, worn yet resolute. The steps are smooth, the columns less defined, but the structure still stands.
Dirt has settled deep into the design, protecting the remaining details like a shield.
This building traveled farther in this small form than most monuments ever will, across states, across decades, through lives that never noticed it.
Each softened line whispers the same message: this coin endured when millions did not. The D mint mark sits quietly, almost unnoticed, yet it changes everything. One small letter revealing its birthplace, Denver. Different presses. Different dies. Different opportunities for subtle variations. Collectors understand that hidden value often begins here. Not in bright surfaces. Not in perfection. But in origin combined with survival. This is where ordinary coins quietly separate from the rest.
Millions of 1991 Jefferson Nickels were produced, and that fact makes people careless.
They assume abundance means worthlessness. History proves otherwise.
Most of those coins were worn beyond recognition, lost, discarded, or melted down. Heavily circulated examples that still retain readable detail are fewer than people think. And among those survivors, some carry characteristics that change everything: strike differences, texture, aging patterns that only time can create.
Notice the color of the metal. Not flashy. Not artificial. A natural, aged tone that formed slowly over decades of handling and exposure.
This kind of surface cannot be rushed or faked easily.
Experienced collectors recognize it instantly. Because natural aging tells the truth. And truth is powerful in the collecting world. It separates real history from manufactured shine. To most people, this is still just 5 cents. Something to spend without hesitation. Something to drop into a drawer or jar and forget. But collectors see differently. They know value often hides where attention is weakest. Coins once ignored have later commanded astonishing prices when knowledge finally caught up. Fortune does not arrive loudly. It waits quietly. Stories move quietly among serious collectors: coins spent too soon, coins cleaned and ruined, coins dismissed as worthless before their significance was understood. That is why patience matters. Why hesitation matters. Why a single careless decision can erase decades of potential. Sometimes, the smallest coin carries the greatest lesson. This 1991 Jefferson Nickel does not demand attention. It does not shine. It waits. Carrying decades of American life in its worn surface. Waiting for someone who understands that the most powerful treasures are often the ones everyone else ignores. Sometimes, fortune doesn't sparkle. Sometimes, it hides in the coins people are too quick to spend. At first glance, it seems unremarkable: a Jefferson nickel, dulled by decades of circulation, its copper nickel surface muted to a quiet gray, edges softened from countless exchanges, relief worn down where human hands touched it again and again. Dirt clings stubbornly in the deepest grooves, resting in the corners of the Monticello design, a testament to every pocket, wallet, and drawer it has passed through. Faint scratches scatter across the surface like a map of its life, each telling a fragment of a story few ever notice. Most see a coin. Few see a survivor. This is a 1995 P. Jefferson Nickel, minted quietly in Philadelphia and released into the flow of everyday American life. Unlike pristine collector coins stored under glass, this nickel lived. It was spent without hesitation, dropped in registers, carried in pockets, passed between strangers and friends, used to buy snacks, pay tolls, and settle small debts. Each interaction added character, each decade left its mark. Millions were produced that year, yet only a fraction have survived in heavily circulated condition with readable detail. This one is part of that small, enduring fraction. Turn it over and Monticello stands quietly, the columns softened, steps smoothed, but the structure still recognizable. What the eye sees is where is actually proof of life. Each faded detail speaks of resilience, of transactions witnessed, of history passed on without ceremony. This coin has been a silent companion to countless moments: a mother handing it to her child for the first time, a teenager pocketing it unknowingly, a collector spotting it in a jar decades later. Its story is embedded in the metal, invisible to those who only glance. Look at Jefferson's obverse. The lines of his face have softened, the original strike's sharpness faded, yet the dignity remains. The expression is calm, stoic, enduring, a reminder that coins, like people, age with grace when left to experience the world naturally. This nickel's imperfections are not flaws, they are proof of survival. They tell collectors more than a shiny, untouched coin ever could. They mark time, endurance, and authenticity. The P-mint mark, small and easily overlooked, quietly reveals its origin. Philadelphia's mint produced millions, yet production numbers, subtle die differences, and minting anomalies mean that certain specimens carry hidden value. Experienced collectors know to search for tiny irregularities: a weak strike, doubled die, or unusual toning that transform an ordinary nickel into something extraordinary. This coin, worn and traveled, could hold secrets only careful examination can uncover. Despite its heavily circulated state, the coin retains traces of its original life. The natural toning, subtle color shifts, and worn metal tell of decades in pockets, drawers, and circulation. It bears witness to the passage of time and the stories of countless Americans, each transaction silently recorded in scratches, dents, and smudges. A coin like this is not just currency. It is history made tangible. Most people would dismiss this coin as a simple 5 cents, a casual purchase. Yet collectors recognize what others miss. Hidden within the wear and grime may be a minting anomaly, a rare detail, or an unusual toning that could make this nickel worth far more than its face value. Fortune often hides in plain sight, waiting for the observant eye to uncover it. Ignorance leads to loss, knowledge leads to discovery. Consider all the hands it has passed through: wallets, cash registers, piggy banks, pockets of strangers. Each touch left its mark. Each mark contributes to its story. The heavy circulation does not diminish its value, it enhances its authenticity. To the casual observer, it is merely old. To the collector, it is a living record of history and survival. Red to dark brown toning highlights certain areas, especially around Monticello's steps and Jefferson's portrait. These subtle shades are natural, formed over decades without artificial polishing. This natural aging is highly prized, as it is nearly impossible to replicate. Collectors understand that true value is rarely obvious. It is hidden in the story, the survival, the passage of time, all visible to those who know where to look. This 1995 Jefferson Nickel does not demand attention. It waits quietly, carrying decades of American life within its worn surface. It whispers to the patient collector, "Study me, understand my endurance, notice my subtleties, and recognize the hidden fortune pressed quietly into history." This coin is not just metal. It is resilience, it is survival, it is a quiet promise of wealth for the observant, for the patient, and for those who value history above all.